If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And this time we're coming at you and we're going to be looking at the rise of graphic novels. So, everybody's probably heard of them at this point if you're listening to this podcast. But for those who don't know, a graphic novel is more or less a comic book. What even is a graphic novel anymore? Is there really a firm definition?
I was actually going to open up this pod with a definition too. I defined it as a long story with art presented as a comic book, but published as a book.
Interesting. Well, that all makes sense. But nowadays, is that as small as a single issue comic? Does it have to be prestige format? Are we talking like a trade, like a collection of individual stories, or has it got to be original?
I would say it's a pretty broad definition. But speaking of graphic novels, congrats on your manga.
Thanks. I guess that's kind of like a graphic novel. That's the size of a phone book.
You love graphic novels.
For sure. That's what this whole podcast basically is reviewing. But yeah, thanks for the shout out. For those who don't know, first appearance of Hunter x Hunter and manga. Just got that in the mail from Japan today. Very quick over there. Came in 2 days. So shouts out.
Is it actually coming from Japan, or do they got a warehouse here to get it to you that quick?
No. It's storefront. So who I go through, it's actually almost like a chain of memorabilia type stores almost. They have DC Comics listed as a category on there. It's nothing you or I would really be looking for, but they've got everything pop culture over there, and there's I don't know, probably at least half a dozen locations because they have to check the storefront before they can confirm that they still have it and ship it to you. But no, the last one I got is from Nagoya, Japan. So no, they're just expedient.
That's
good
pretty
system
cool.
Over there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I guess to get back to the topic, I guess the benefit of a graphic novel is that you can read the whole story at once, as opposed to in comic books, you have to buy each issue individually. Although they don't appreciate the same way that comic books do, collecting those individual issues, it's a great way to attract interested readers more so than collectors.
Yeah, they're way more accessible too. You can find them at Barnes and Noble or, certain other stores even will carry them. They're Target even has some. They make it more accessible for people to read, for the casual fan or those that are slightly interested. Because honestly, if you were to try and navigate a comic book store on your own with no prior experience or a guide with you, it would be pretty overwhelming. If you just saw a Spider-Man movie and you're I want to read Spider-Man, how the hell are you supposed to know where to start? Especially nowadays with all the different volumes, I would be so confused. But yeah, it makes it nice and accessible. It almost seems like things today are being made for graphic novels per se, in the trade format specifically, kind of to what you alluded to. It's not really a collectible thing. I'm sure there are people who do. I've heard a lot of talk actually about people collecting omnibuses and stuff like that, which, those are actually pretty expensive for being a giant graphic novel. Get the nice hardcover, the dust jacket. Oh yeah. And just just a big I don't know, bougie book of comics basically. But yeah, like you said, if you want to go the collector route, you probably want just your standard back issue comic. But us, there's no way that we could review half the books that we've read if we did it without trades or graphic novels. It'd be such a pain in the ass to try and track down single issues for all of those. We'd be blowing wads on eBay trying to get them all shipped in time to read. So the graphic novel or specifically the trade format is pretty clutch.
That was actually a talking point that I had too. There's so many different things to talk about when it comes to graphic novels, but I guess where I figured I would start is that they're definitely a lot more popular than they used to. I didn't
Oh
even
yeah.
kind of think about that. I feel like things, you're right, are being made with the intent of like making a graphic novel out of it.
Absolutely. I think
Um,
it's like a good thing and a detriment, dude, because think about it. Like the story arcs, like the length and like how the pacing of the stories is nowadays. It could be lackluster, but you'll get like a whole 6 to 12 issue like run just so they can brand it under one name and put it out in like a trade a few months later. You can see like nowadays, especially at like, DC and Marvel, just seeing all of the trades coming out are just specifically like made to be read that way compared to how it was, I suppose.
yeah, I didn't do a lot of research for this topic. I figured it'd mostly just be improv, but it looks like graphic novels started kind of like in the 80s is
Yeah,
the
like I think even like in like the 70s a little bit, I think there was literally like a Marvel graphic novel line, like flat out. But yeah, basically, heading into that was like the advent of them becoming more prominent.
but boomed during the pandemic. I
Oh
read that
yeah.
sales of adult graphic novels actually doubled in 2021, and that a lot of people think it's because of the comic book movies being a thing that drives, people to the theaters or streaming services. So there was like a huge growth in graphic novels as a result, but also like people kind of, like TV kind of declining also is another reason to attribute to like this kind of newer success with graphic novels. We touched on it a little bit last episode, but my pull is a lot bigger than it ever has been. So I also feel like the genre has attracted a lot more writers and artists in general, which also opens up the doors for more graphic novels to be sold. So you're absolutely right. Like to put it in perspective, almost half of our episodes can be like credited to being graphic novels that we picked up digitally. So although I'm not a collector of graphic novels, I personally appreciate how accessible it has become and how easy it is to read classic stories without actually having to buy those individual issues. There's no way we would have been able to read half of the stories that we have and reviewed them just by finding like the original issues for
No.
those stories. So I don't get me wrong, like I love collecting individual issues, but it would be almost like financially impossible to go directly to the source every time you want to read something. So in addition to that, I feel like it's kind of globally more accessible
Mm-hmm.
considering like we were even able to read that Bat manga digitally, which I feel like would have been very difficult to source in the event that graphic novels were unpopular.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. And specifically our little like corner of the graphic novel world, specifically like superhero comics actually isn't like the biggest portion of well, that's verbatim. That's just bro talk. I don't actually have any statistics to really back that up, but it really seems like the growth markets for graphic novels have really been to like kids or young adults, because there's a lot of like DC specifically that I've noticed, like original graphic novels, targeted at young adults slash teens. I mean, it all looks like garbage to me because I'm not the target market, but like it's definitely something that they're focusing on. And then, I mean, outside of superhero stuff, though, as you're mentioning, like globally, you got to think that manga rather is the probably the biggest driver of that.
Say it with your
Um,
chest.
I just
CBJ
did
calls it manga.
manga,
You don't got
but
to correct yourself.
I says it both ways, potato, potato, you know what I mean?
It's a safe
But
space here.
it is safe. I feel
I
good.
I like manga.
Same. It feels right.
Feels
Feel-
Texan.
yeah, American
Yeah,
manga.
I'll say manga when I'm not in America, but while
Yeah,
I'm here,
when I'm elsewhere,
yeah.
when in Rome, I guess. But back to my original point. I'm saying that manga. See, I did it again, trying to be too appropriate. Anywho, I believe that that's driving most of the global market. I mean, not only is it big, where it originated in Japan, obviously, but maybe it's because I'm not as like hip, but I mean, there's always definitely been anime manga fans over here. But it really feels like it's really been kicking up over like the past, I don't know, like 5 to 10. And it feels like most people, like it's entered the mainstream at this point, the same way that comics kind of did with like the MCU and, like through film and stuff like that. Feels like anime and manga are doing the same thing. Because I actually was reading, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's like the majority of growth was literally attributed to that. Like I think specifically like My Hero Academia, I was like, how is that the best selling thing? Like period. But it's like shit's hot right now. And then I mean, if we're not talking about manga, we're talking about Dog Man, like straight up kids graphic novels. Like you remember Captain Underpants? It's like in the same vein as that.
I do.
Yeah, I don't think it's our boy Dav Pilkey. I think it's a woman named Raina Talgemeyer or something. I don't know. I'm truly not that familiar, but like that shit's popping right now too. Obviously, we're not children, so we're not reading Dog Man, but like, ooh, she's rolling in the green, brother. And so it's like graphic novels are hitting everywhere, and I guess that's a good thing, like rising tide, it's bringing everything up. But
Yeah, I read something else online too, and I don't know the legitimacy of it. This is just more bro talk, but like
all
it might have
conspiracies
been
here.
like Barnes and Nobles was like a lot of their sales actually came from like the manga department.
What
And
well, duh, it's a Paula Deen cookbooks or like Vanity Fair, and then there's My Hero Academia and all this, everyone's like, whoa.
which anyway, I feel like graphic novels kind of read like manga, and because manga is more popular than ever, I find that people like prefer the graphic novels to comics because not everybody's a collector like us, and they don't have to worry about like mishandling it. They can comfortably like lend it to people without having to worry about like replacing the product. They don't have
No
to keep it
pyramid
in
of
like a
boxes.
near mint, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you could probably get like close to what you paid for it if you
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
mean,
sell it.
they hold value unless you like chuck it like a frisbee every other day. I mean, I've got a few physical copies, and honestly, I think one of them's like slept on. I think it's like the original. It's knowing me, it's not the first print, but it doesn't have the dust jacket. And apparently that's a whole rigmarole that I don't understand. Like the nuances of like trade collecting. It's just like I don't get it, bro. Because there's sneaky. Oh, I mean, obviously, like a lot of printings for these things. So it's like trying to figure out what printing you got's got to be a pain in the dupa. I mean, usually you get like a barcode on a comic and it says it's got a little two there, and you're like, oh, clearly. But these things, I don't know what printing I have. I mean, my physical collection, I have what are they? I don't even know what like the series is called. It's like an early DC like showcase. It's not showcase, but it's like that. I have like what Captain Marvel, so Shazam like 1 and 2 or 3, and then I have like a couple Superman ones and a Flash one. And then I have Justice by Alex Ross that we had reviewed, plug, and then also Crisis on Infinite Earths, which we also read, plug. So you can go back and check those out, and if you want to read them, obviously those are going to be more accessible. Same with Watchmen. I had a physical copy of that. I lent it to Gary. Should probably check on that. But I got that from Target. That's what I'm talking about. You can go up there and get that for like $20 or less, and I mean that's a classic. I mean, even if you're brand new to comics, like good investment. And then, like you said, it's good to disperse to people. Because I remember even back in college, you always had that trade of Watchmen. I remember you kind of passing it around to at least a couple people, try and get their, dip their toes in. And,
Yeah,
I mean,
kind of
I don't think
religious
we,
almost.
yeah, here's your Bible. But I don't think anybody really completely bought in, but everybody enjoyed the experience. And, at least that's one step closer to it's like raising awareness, comic book awareness. We're not looking for like the comic book answer or solution or like, cure rather, but we're raising awareness, you just hand it
In
out like a little
fact,
pamphlet.
don't bring a cure around. It's strictly awareness.
It's just awareness,
Yeah.
we need the money so you know.
But
But
yeah, I do want to highlight some notable graphic novels because we're
yeah,
on the topic. Like, I remember being in high school and reading Art Spiegelman's Mouse that came
mouse.
out in 1986. Low key, high key, the best thing I probably read in high school, top five for sure. Not just because it was a graphic novel, but because it's like actually like a good story. So I own this one. But yeah, it just goes to show how important graphic novels can be. Like everybody in the class had one. Like that's how accessible it was. And noting that like it can make its way into school curriculums because it's an easy form of storytelling and like actually has like some serious weight to it. But not only that, but like Frank Miller's like Dark Knight Returns changed Batman forever. That was also in 1986.
That's prestige format.
Well, I don't own one of those, but maybe one day. But Alan Moore's Watchmen, you're right. I pass that around a lot, still own that. Not as good as the titles I listed above, but being in sci-fi class in like college, they had us all pick up V for Vendetta.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so stuff like that. And like there's stories that I've liked so much that we read digitally that I have bought the graphic novel to it. So I think I have like All Star Superman, which we haven't reviewed for the
No,
pod. No.
we have not.
But that's my favorite story in comics. I own all 12 issues and I own the graphic novel just because I don't want to give people my first 12 issues to borrow if they want to read it. But I also own Craven's Last Hunt too.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a great place to start if you're interested in picking up stories. I say that because it's similar to comic books, the art allows for like a really cool storytelling that isn't available in traditional reading. Like in Mouse, you could see like, for example, like branding on one of the characters' arms. And it was like alluding to the fact that they like escaped the Holocaust, but you didn't have to actually write or say anything to kind of represent that visually. So it's just cool little nuances like that. I think the visuals also make for the story to be pretty engaging, considering you could read a graphic novel on like every genre of literature ever. So I feel like there's a pretty big stigma that it's just entertainment for kids because I mean, a lot of that's true to your point about Captain Underpants, but I also feel
Dog
like there's
man.
a potential for mature storytelling. So,
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, shoot, I honestly, they've come in very clutch for me a number of times. Used to keep this one's fun. I used to keep my Golden Age Superman. It was like issues 1 through 4. Used to keep that in like the bathroom closet, in case I needed some material. Very clutch. The last bastion of American freedom, really. What do you want to do with your time? You read a little bit of Golden Age Superman.
you got
And you
them memorized?
no, I don't. But it otherwise does come in clutch when besides Superman being in the bathroom, is the power went out for like a day or two. It was nuts. And I had no entertainment because apparently like without Wi-Fi, like my cell network is like doo doo brown, dude. It sucks. So I couldn't do anything, couldn't charge my phone. So I was like, oh no. But clutch. What was laying under my bed? Silver Age Flash Volume 1. So, I got pretty well read on like early Flash issues. We're talking like, well, obviously all the showcase issues. There was even a Golden Age one with the rival, basically the Reverse Flash for Jay Garrick. And then into the Gorilla Grodd trilogy. And so that was pretty cool. It's nice to just have them around. I didn't have to go fumbling through and, untape and hope I didn't get a tape pull on like one of my books. It was just literally just a hardcover book and you just sit there and you just chill out, put a little bookmark in it. And, it makes it more digestible and it gives you like a good little chunk of story too. So it's like you'll find something you like in the graphic novel. And if you don't, you'll move on to something else. But yeah, they do go hard. I do worry a little bit about comics being made or tailored specifically towards graphic novels because it does seem like the formatting is like they have the intent of writing it out in chunks. So where it can be easily broken out into a graphic novel. And I have no idea if, that's going to continue. It kind of seems that way because it seems more marketable. But yeah, hopefully like good storytelling prevails and it's not just like clipping and shipping to make it into a trade. And hopefully, it's the content of the book and then they just happen to turn it into a trade. Which, not to get too off topic, the Silver Agey feel, I've seen a lot of people going back to poll discussion slightly. The writing in comics today seems to be a lot better, like in our polls, like you said. Kind of got that Silver Agey feel where it can't be dumb, but it can be more goofy again. And I've been appreciating that, like specifically Shazam and World's Finest. So it's like I'm interested to see how like that loosely Silver Agey storytelling, how that would present in a trade. Since like if you like flip through the back issue bins, like that stuff's pretty nonsensical half the time and doesn't correlate to anything. So it's like it wouldn't make much sense to do trades that way. It's just a matter of how long story arcs are now. Because I mean, you figure what they're at minimum 4 issues or pretty much nowadays. Sometimes you get 2 if you're lucky and it's not overly drawn out, but usually 4 to 6 issues, and that's perfect. Sell it for 15, $20. Like, oh, when I started collecting, actually, one of the first things I did get was graphic novels. And that was right around New 52 time. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was at Barnes and Noble, and I got the what was it, Green Arrow Volume 2 or 3? I don't know. And I thought it was so sick, but like that's because I didn't know what good comics were. But like, so it's good for that. I'd say it's definitely good. Like, if one, you know what you want and it's not easy to come across, or two, you just are like bored and or new to comics and just want to try stuff out. I've just been steady rambling.
No, all of that was good. I guess maybe I failed you, but I don't have more on the topic.
I don't think there's much more to the topic unless we want to, kind of circle back to the same things we've already talked about. So, with that said, I think we'll call it here, gang. We'll catch you next time. You know what to do in the meantime. CBJ Pod on Instagram. You can go hit us up there. CBJ Podcast on Facebook. If it's up, they keep trying to beef with us, and I don't know if it's legit or not, but we're legit. And if one of y'all is reporting us for like copyright, that doesn't make sense because we own all the comic book junkie stuff. So leave me alone. I'm just kidding. But honestly, CBJ Facebook is basically going to get everything from our Instagram. So I'd recommend, if you have Instagram, to go straight there. We do have a YouTube if you want. Basically, it's a good backup for everything that we have on our podcast app. So everything we have will also live also on YouTube. And yeah, other than that, just stay tuned. We're still dropping new episodes every other Wednesday. Next time, also going to be a surprise. I will tell you, it's likely going to be a topic. Got a little game of catch up to play if you want to know how the sausage is made. So we're going to be two dudes shitting around about something else for you next time as well. And you'll love it when you hear it. Is there anything you want to say to anyone?
Yeah, it's not an excuse. So I just very much appreciate you guys bearing with us through all these topics and stuff like that.
They
We're not
love the
getting
topics,
lazy.
Joe.
We got
This
a lot on our plate, but
this is
we
the
do
show.
have some really.
Now you're apologizing. Don't you correct yourself. This is our show, dude. We're doing the show and they're junkies with us.
No, I know. I just don't want to come across as lazy.
They're friends of the junkies. We
I
haven't missed a
consider
release
them
date
friends
yet.
too. No, true and real.
True and
but
real.
We do got some good stuff planned, and we're back on track. So thank you guys.
Yeah, no more major life events. So more focus on some major life events for some of us, but we're getting back to even state. So yeah, more attention to the CBJ, more fun stuff, more graphic novel reviews, which that's our bread and butter, and you know that. Unless you're new here, and in that
hopefully
case, welcome.
some more guests too. I would like that.
We need to ramp that back up too. A lot of fun times to be had, but we can keep, rambling all day. So we appreciate you. Keep on listening. If you don't, tell a friend and see if they'll listen. And we'll catch you next time.
Later, guys.